I'm Juan Bond, Director of Secondary Education for the North Penn School District and High School Principal, and I will be your host for this special edition of this program today. Joining us today will be several teachers, parents, and students to help you understand the new initiative called Tech Prep and School to Work that we're embarking on in the North Penn School District and specifically at the North Penn High School. It's a reform movement that is sweeping the country, and it has direct ties to what our young people will be doing once they've either graduated from high school, a 2-year school, or a 4-year college. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to our first set of panelists. This is Dr. William Hubler, a Department Chair for English Department at North Penn High School. Mrs. Karen Holmes, who is in our English Department at North Penn High School. Mr. John Vincius, Director of Guidance for the North Penn High School. Mrs. Kathy Wilson, who is the Department Chair for Social Studies. And Dr. Sue Cahill, who is Supervisor for English for the North Penn School District and Supervisor of our Tech Prep Initiative. What we are embarking upon, quite frankly, is a way to raise the academic standards for our students at North Penn High School as they prepare for the world of work. And Dr. Huber, I'd like to begin by asking you a question. Could you tell us who are the key players in this new initiative called School to Work?
The key players in a successful School to Work program would consist of the students, the parents, the teachers, school administrators, business and industry councils, school board members, and any other interested members of the community who would want to get involved.
What are your hopes? What are your hopes for this initiative?
Well, the hopes are that this will be a challenging program. And I think that's one of the things that people don't understand about the School to Work initiative, that it means more challenging classes, it means better grades, it means fewer dropouts, it means a strengthening of the curriculum in such a way that students want to be in school and that they want to be involved in the work that they are doing because it makes sense, because it has something useful for them, it leads to a career, and it makes sense.
So your hope is that people and students will recognize how much sense this makes, and at the same time, how much better they can be academically.
That's right. And I think that by this initiative, that Dr. Bond is hoping that this initiative will lead us into the 21st century in education.
Thank you, Dr. Huber. Ms. Holmes. Ms. Holmes began with this Tech Prep initiative years ago as one of our first teachers in the program, and I remember the recruitment well. What are the basic components of what we're now calling School to Work? I know that we began calling this Tech Prep, and now we're calling it School to Work. What are the basic components of this program?
I think, first of all, people need to realize that School to Work is broader than Tech Prep and includes many more things and more people and more students in the whole initiative. The primary component is the academics, the challenging academics, including applied courses, which we're offering. These courses focus on communication skills, other interpersonal skills. They include problem solving. They also include higher level thinking, and this would be geared for all of our students at all levels. With that, we've included business and industry connections so that business and industry will help us understand what is needed in the Workforce 2000. The whole initiative is really for students who want to prepare for the workplace, and all of our students eventually will have a career. So we're looking to business and industry to help us determine what they will need and some of the competencies and skills. From that, we've already adopted two things, and that is the team building, and this is nationwide in terms of what the companies and businesses have said they need. The students need to be able to work with one another on work-based type teams. The second thing is the use of technology, because so much of what we're going to have to teach the students is how to use the technology and how to access information, that it's important our students be able to do that. In addition to that, and John's going to talk about this, I know, is the career development piece. Whether our students are going to go on for 4 years or 2 years or to a technical school or go directly into the workplace, each student needs to prepare for a job or a career. And by doing that, they'll select courses that lead to a career option rather than a random sequence of courses here at the high school. They will have some idea of an area that they want to study or to look into when they graduate.
Before we go on to Mr. Vincius and we talk about a career preparation, let me ask if we can get some kind of clarification as to what tech prep is and what school to work is. And that's from anyone, because I know when we started this initiative, we called it tech prep. And we were focusing a little more precisely at that time. Now we've broadened it to be school to work. Help the audience understand the difference between tech prep and school to work and how it relates. Dr. Cahill, you want to give that a shot?
Yeah. I think if we look at school to work as an umbrella, and then we see all of the various programs that can be encompassed by this umbrella, with tech prep being one of those areas. And tech prep has many definitions across the country. The state of Pennsylvania defines tech prep as a program that includes some post-secondary education. For our purposes, we have in-house defined tech prep as interdisciplinary classes for level 4.0 students, or when I say 4.0 students, students who perhaps have been in not on a high academic track, but who definitely need high academics and need greater expectations and need that extra support. So that, in summary, it would be that Schools to Work has many, many components, including the business and industry piece, the whole idea of mentoring, career shadowing, internships, apprenticeships, while tech prep is just one piece of that. It's one of the parts that come under that umbrella.
Thank you. Does anyone like to add anything to that? Thank you, Dr. Cahill, because it seems to me that we often get confused and we make tech prep synonymous with school to work, and I appreciate that clarification. Mr. Vincius, Ms. Holmes has said that career preparation is a crucial part of the School to Work initiative. Please share with us how Guidance Service is getting involved and getting students involved with career preparation that's different from what has been normal.
Well, I can address this by piggybacking a little bit on what Sue said about the school to work idea as affecting all students and not just one segment of the students. It was a coincidence that 3 years ago, as the tech prep movement was taking hold at North Penn, at the same time the Guidance Services was being reviewed for an update of how we're rendering our services. There was a committee formed and a needs analysis was done, and it was realized that there must be more information about careers given to students, and along with that, the process of the career decision is made. So this committee worked to establish a curriculum that would go from kindergarten through 12th grade. And there was a certain sequence and a certain framework so that all these components could be considered. For example, at the elementary level, there was a focus on the academic, the developmental, and career information piece as it refers to this individual. It's looking at individual strengths. And then we take that and move that to the middle level, and it's intensified by, again, looking at these three components, the academic, developmental, the career, but seeing now the student in relationship with other students, because this is the way the world of work is. You don't work alone, you work with other people. So it's the idea of teaming coming into play here. And at the same time, more information about careers, more discussion in the classroom about careers. Then we move that to the senior level, and the exploration continues, but now it moves into another area, and that is the decision that is made. And shooting off from the decision would be consideration of what kind of an academic program might be necessary for this career to actually happen. If it's a technical program, a 2-year college, or a 4-year college program.
We have for years had speakers coming into the high school, but my desk this year is getting more and more speakers coming in. What kind of things are happening at the high school now? What type of speakers are we bringing in now, and how does it play into this career preparation program?
This is something, Dr. Bonhoop, is just beginning, that you're getting more and more requests to come in because this is so absolutely necessary. The students can hear what a career is about by reading a textbook or hearing about it in the classroom. But the next step is to really have contact with the people who are doing this career to find out from them what it's like. And then the third phase is for the student to experience the career by going out into the community for an experience of shadowing or mentorship or something like that. So this is just beginning, bringing people in from the community to talk to a classroom. The tech prep classes, for example, or school to work classes recently had a career fair where speakers came in and spoke with the students about what they're doing. And this is so helpful because it's giving life to the concept of a career to these students.
Give us the names of some of the types of career folks who have been in. What kind of careers have been represented so far this year in terms of people coming in? Anyone?
Well, I'll start it off. I know people have been in for art, construction, food services, personal services such as cosmetology. So there are just a few ideas.
In the program that John mentioned for 10th grade teamed classes, when we had our career panel, we had someone in law enforcement, we had some people who own their own small businesses in catering, we had a contractor, we had people who provide services in our community who are in a position to employ our students, who are in a position to help students make those choices about what's out there in the areas of banking, insurance, human services. We had a woman speak to us, to our students from the Peter Becker community about geriatric care. So there was a really wide range of opportunities for the young people.
It's interesting because what I noticed the most in terms of the names and occupations across my desk is the variety. I saw some folks come in from Hatfield, and the folks in Hatfield were representing all of the different areas and careers in that particular company, as well as people from Merck who were coming in representing the science piece, the research piece, and the clerical secretarial piece.
And I think one group, Dr. Vaughn, that they're planning to invite in at the 11th grade level is the Hatboro Job Center to bring in all the statistics and all of the official kinds of job availability that's generated at the state level.
Sounds to me like we're trying to make this thing real.
Definitely.
Speaking of real, Mrs. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
we have also been involved in what we're calling career pathways. Would you help us understand what career pathways means for North Bend High School students?
I would say that merging with what John said about career education, once a young person has focused in on a career, then we're in a position to help them while they're still in high school to plan the sequence of courses that they need to take in order to merge into that career pathway. We've been really fortunate here at North Penn with 2 institutions of higher learning in our community, Montgomery County Community College and Penn State Abington, to create what I sometimes refer to as, and I've seen in print, 2+2 programs, where as juniors and seniors in high school, students take course selections that will set them up for admission right into a program at Montgomery County Community College or at Penn State Abington. And once in those institutions, then they can proceed with either a 2-year associate's degree or decide that they want to continue. We currently are looking at career pathways in administration of justice and business administration at Penn State, and child development and gerontology services at Montgomery County Community College. And we know from Hatboro and from services across the state using the Bureau of Labor Statistics that these are areas where there will be career openings for our young people when they leave North Penn.
So we use a big term like career pathways, and we're working on articulation agreements. When it gets down to it, what's that mean for our students?
Having met several of the students who have, by their own initiative, joined the programs, our students are saying we are committed to successful academic completion of courses as juniors and seniors, demonstrating qualifications in communication skills and writing skills, the heaviest, highest math load that they can carry. And what it means is that Penn State Abington will admit them without going through all of the arduous tasks that everyone else goes through. When they get to Penn State, they'll be offered continued guidance services, assistance if they need it. They will be sheltered through, but expected to perform at a very high academic level at Penn State.
I've heard a couple of you say something about high level, and you said something about expectations. The fact is that North Penn High School has always sent students to college.
Absolutely.
We've always sent students to 2-year schools. I mean, what's different? I mean, why is this a big deal? And how does this impact upon what we have always called academic students? And how does it what's the big deal about this school to work tech prep thing that makes it different from what we've always done? If we're going to talk about educational reform and we talk about what's the basic difference between now and then and where we're going. Anyone? Oh, everybody wants to get on that one, huh? Well, Mrs. Wilson was talking, so let her start.
I'll start.
All right.
And I would certainly agree. We have traditionally always sent a large number and an increasingly larger number of our young people to college. I think where career pathways differs is that we're setting a program in place that will not only help our students attend, but to graduate and to have that focus that will create a career as a result of this extended education opportunity. There were statistics that were shared with us when we were in Harrisburg that indicated that many students change their major when they're in college. They don't graduate. They take many, many years. I think the Career Pathways program helps young people stay focused and stay committed.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Mr. Vencia says he has the answer.
Well, I'll share the answer with Kathy. The Career Pathways does prepare a student for a particular direction into the 2-year program. But along with that, the statistics tell us that 50% of the students who will start a 4-year college program don't finish it. Mm-hmm. So where career information comes into play and the experience with various careers through a mentorship program or whatever is helping the students to have more awareness of what the career is before they begin the program. So that the chances are greater that they will stay with a program, although they know in advance this isn't for them. They have to go a different path. Mm-hmm. So that they can go that different path before they make this investment into a 4-year college program.
Ms. Holmes, you have anything to add?
I sure do.
I know you do.
I think there are two words: the motivation and the goal of the student is greatly enhanced. It's called an enhanced program because they get more of business administration or administration of justice courses here prior to going to Penn State, that they will enter at a level beyond what they normally would if they were going straight as a senior who is not in the program. They will have more information as they go into the program. They'll have this particular business industry mentoring piece that they'll have experienced. So I think that they'll be motivated, they'll have a goal, and they'll know as they're in the program what it is to be like in the workforce.
Okay, so 10, 15, 20% of our students involved in this initiative go to the career pathways route. There's a lot of youngsters at our school that are not going to a four-year school and are not going to career pathways. What difference does it make to them? And additionally, what is this program, this School to Work initiative, doing for the students who always went to a four-year school? Doctor?
The School to Work program offers the opportunity for the student to attach himself or herself to something practical in life. It offers the opportunity to channel oneself into a career, into a specific career. And even with the School to Work, we're thinking of getting into the earlier years, getting down into the elementary schools and the middle schools with this effort.
Okay. I think that you folks believe this. I believe it, and I appreciate your responses. But it brings me to a point. Every time you choose to do something new and different, there's a price tag attached. We've had an incredible price tag attached to this School to Work initiative. To that end, good Dr. Cahill, myself, and others have applied for a number of grants to help with the funding. And Dr. Cahill, would you please share with us what grants we've had, what those grants purport to do, and what all this grant means to us as a school district?
Well, let me begin with the last part of your question. If, in fact, we're trying to do all of the things that Bill and Karen and John and Kathy have identified, it takes a great deal of teacher planning time, of administrative planning time, of business and industry, of people at the post-secondary institutions, that the time is really a great investment, because we have to invest the time to make sure that the change goes well. So for all of those time investments, for keeping all of the people who need to be informed up to speed, we have really said, well, we need more money. And one of my goals last year was to get more money.
Who in the world gave you a charge like get more money?
Who gave me that charge? I think Dr. Bond Incorporated gave me that charge.
Incorporated.
But we started out, and certainly I wasn't at all part of the first initial $10,000 grant that we got from an institution called the Southern Regional Educational Board that sponsors high school to work conventions and high school to work philosophy. And we received $10,000 from them, which was our seed money. That really got us started. It allowed some of us to attend some conventions and to become more informed. Then Karen worked and got us some AIM money, which is an advanced integrated model. And that was $10,000 for us to work with subject area teachers and the Technical Career Center to get students to look at learning in an integrated way as opposed to looking at it as segmented. So we really began with those two grants. Last year we upped the ante a bit. We went for a $65,000 grant from PDE, vocational department. And from them, we were able to get funds that really helped us to do what it was that Kathy was talking about. And that's getting these articulation agreements, career pathways established so that we had time to go down to Penn State and talk, and time to talk and work with Montgomery County Community College, and not only to get the actual agreements established and the pathways set up, but also to get all of the increased expectations in the curriculum and everything in line, so that when we were finished, it wasn't just something that was superficial, but it went deeper. And then our most recent funds came from what we call Goals 2000. And Goals 2000 is a federal program that really began in 1990, when President Bush called together 50 state leaders, and I think it was in Virginia. He called them together and he said, what should be our educational goals? And so they defined 6 goals for the nation. And he began a program called America 2000. President Clinton changed that to Goals 2000, and there was enacted a Goals 2000 Educate America Act. And it is from that act that we have this Goals 2000 funding. And primarily, the way in which we were able to access funds from Goals 2000 was through the State Department of Ed, and through the fact that we identified a particular group of students that we felt needed to have a plan for these students, and we needed to be able to do all the kinds of things that we've talked about. So this most recent grant from Goals 2000 has really helped us to plan for bringing in business and industry. That's a big chunk, to try to figure out how do we get them in, how do we get them to network and to identify what particular programs they will offer through their businesses. It also will help us with John's whole piece, with the counseling piece. We're hopeful that we can bring some really career savvy people in to help us work with a career program and to update our counselors. And finally, it will also help us with technology, because there are funds in that particular grant for additional computers for our targeted population.
So our total granting for this year comes to what? How much?
$335,000.
$335,000. Now, what happens next year if we don't get any grant money? Is the program dead? What happens to this program? Let's have someone. What happens to this program? We don't get any money next year. What happens to your career program?
It'll continue.
It will continue.
It'll continue, because right now the money that we're receiving is helping to in-service the guidance staff, so that we will all be experts in this area.
What happens to career pathways if we don't get money next year?
I think what we've done to this point has been to establish the program so that it has a life of its own, and the young people who are involved in the program will go out and tell others, and because the guidance counselors know all about it, it will move like an engine down a track and pick up steam.
One final question for you. Now, I've watched you folks for the last 4 years work on this initiative. I've watched you spend weekends, I've watched you spend evenings, I've watched you spend after-school hours and hours and hours on this initiative, when the fact is you could have continued to do what you've always done and been home on those weekends and in the evenings and after school. Starting with Ms. Holmes, help me understand why you do this. You are a coordinator of this initiative at the high school. Why do you do it? Why do you spend all those hours? Why do you spend the time?
Because it makes a difference for the students in my classroom. I teach seniors in this particular program, and I've noticed over the past 3 years a difference in the students who are coming into my classroom. They're more motivated, they're more organized, they come to school more, they're able to sit down and study and have better study habits. They work with one another much easier than they used to, and tracking it over 3 years, there's a difference in the students that I teach, and that's what's important.
Dr. Huber, you're chair for the English department. We're into applied communications. We're into interdisciplinary. We're into integrated projects. We're into all of this. Why you?
Well, I like to see the students involved. I'd rather see a high school that works, to see the students out doing things. And I think that carries over into the classroom, too. I think a classroom looks much better, the students learn much better when they are actually involved and they have an opportunity to have a say in what they're learning, and that they see that it makes sense for them.
Mrs. Wilson, 4 years ago you were drafted by the high school principal to be a pilot. We were doing a pilot. We didn't have a clue what we were doing, but we thought it would work. You're still in it 3 or 4 years later. Why are you still here?
Well, I'm here by choice because as chair, I think I have some leeway and discretion that I could choose something else. But I'm here for a real fundamental reason. Most of us here are parents. And I have my daughter's picture on my desk, and I remind myself every day to be the teacher that I would want her to have. And I think I'm pretty tough. I think I'm pretty fair. I think I balance kindness with strictness. But these are young people who need structure and high expectations. They need a safety net to help them when they fall, just like my daughter does. And that's really why I'm here.
I would ask a lot more questions, but quite frankly, I can't think of a better way to conclude this portion of this School to Work program than with that comment. I'd like to thank each of you for participating this morning or today, and I'd also like to thank each of you for what you continue to do for our young people, because I believe so strongly that the children are still the future. The children are still the future. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll take a break and be back with part 2. You enjoy it. Don't go away.
Billy wants to work on airplanes when he grows up. Maybe one that you'll fly in. Now, would you like this free booklet of simple ways you can help improve his education? Call 1-800-96-PROMISE.
Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion of our School to Work Tech Prep Initiative at the North Penn School District, and specifically as relates to North Penn High School. And for this portion of the program, I am very pleased to have Kevin Morrison, a junior at North Penn High School, who has been in our School to Work initiative for 2 years. Mrs. Patty Kinsey, who is an English teacher and teaches on one of our interdisciplinary teams, namely 10th grade, and is very proud to have Kevin as a student.
Yes, I am.
And Mrs. Callahan, who teaches biology in one of our interdisciplinary teams, and Mrs. Leister. Mrs. Leister is the chair for our Consumer Science and Human Resources Department. Did I get that title right?
No, Dr.
What is
Connell.
that title?
Human Services and Consumer Science.
Human Services and Consumer Science. And that's interesting because yesterday you congratulated me about getting it right. I'm on TV and I blow it. I apologize.
That's okay, Dr.
Human
Connell.
Services and Consumer Science. You folks may remember it used to be home ec, but we're doing a lot more than home ec these days. And I thank Mrs. Leister for her part in making that happen. Ms. Callahan, this School to Work Tech Prep Initiative has a piece in it called Applied Strategies. Applied Strategies. Now, is this another one of those educational jargonese type terms? Is this real, and is it happening in the classroom? Help us understand what we mean when we say applied strategies.
I can do that. It absolutely is not just jargon. It is very real. Applied strategies include methods of teaching in the classroom. so that the student can actively participate in the learning process. For example, the student will work in group work and will deal with problems that are very real, that are career related, and it's very, very necessary to motivate the student to do the best job that he or she can do.
Now, that's what we say. Now, Kevin, is that what we're doing?
Basically, yeah.
We are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't it? And believe me, folks, if we weren't, Kevin would tell me that. Kevin has been working with these applied strategies for 2 years. Can you give me an example of something we've done that is an applied strategy piece?
I'd say with the Romeo and Juliet projects, with the applied strategy, it's more hands-on rather than just reading the book and then explaining what's going on. We actually got involved in acting out some of the play and doing projects with the play rather than just, reading the book and that's that,
So teachers weren't standing up in front of you lecturing and asking you to read second page Romeo and Juliet?
It wasn't anything like that. Before, you would have your assignments where teachers would say, we need you to read chapter 3 through chapter 8. Come back, tomorrow and tell us a little bit about what's going on, but it wasn't like that at all.
Now, is this good?
This is very good.
This is very good. That's a good answer, Kevin. That's good. That's a good answer. Now, Ms. Gallahan, so can you break down this applied strategy theory just a little more? So give us an example in addition to the Romeo and Juliet. You're a biology teacher, so you've had applied strategies. But you're working with other folks. Give us another example of an applied strategy in a classroom.
Right. I am a biology teacher, and I feel that I've always been very hands-on, and that's the nature of the science curriculum. However, with applied strategies, we relate it to the careers. Instead of just my dictating a procedure for a laboratory experiment, I would have the students come together, work in a group format, and I would actually have them design the experiment and then design the procedure. They really understand what they're doing, they understand why they're doing, they're maintaining and enhancing problem-solving skills, they are also maintaining and enhancing team-building skills, and this is, after all, really what business and industry is really looking for.
So you're allowing students to do that?
Yes,
So what are you doing while students are doing your work?
Let me tell you, I am working harder than ever. The planning is extremely difficult. It's got to be very concise. It has to be extremely clear to the students. And as long as you can direct, you are the director, you are the facilitator, and you never leave the student's side. However, you allow them enough leeway that they can trust themselves and really think. Thinking is the process that is so important to motivate our students into success.
Let me move from these applied strategies over to integrated projects. Yeah, Mrs. Leister, we have another term called integrated projects, and on paper it looks wonderful. Is it wonderful?
Dr. Bond, and it's not only on paper. Integrated projects are wonderful. And they're wonderful because they have students actually do have real life experiences within the classroom. And an example of this, what we do is we integrate vocational and academic. And there were some wonderful examples last year that have been done. For example, the Romeo and Juliet, which Kevin has spoken about, and maybe Mrs. Kinsey would like to say something about that in a few minutes. And additionally, there was a Trash to Train. And with the Trash to Train integrated project, what students did, the child development students went to the library, they researched. And then when they researched, they found from the research what they needed to know to actually be able to give information to the technology education students so they could build that train. Additionally, the mathematics students, they calculated how much recycled curbside trash was in that train. And the students, Mrs. Kinsey's students of English came out and wrote reactionaries with the young children. These integrated projects actually help students to use these application strategies to make projects.
Kevin, you're part of an integrated project piece in the Romeo. Tell me, how many different courses were involved in this Romeo and Juliet piece?
How many did there was a lot of different.
Name a couple.
There was a building trades and VOTEC. I mean, your English departments, your social studies departments, your culinary departments in the technical career center. Cosmetology was involved. Health and human resources were involved over at the tech school.
Yeah,
There was a
I also heard, I don't know, but I heard that we got math people and physics people in because we were setting up a stage and needed to put it together.
yeah.
Physics.
Mm-hmm.
And Romeo and Juliet. Social studies and Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
That is integrated, I guess, huh?
I would say so. I think so.
Mrs. Leister, you were primarily responsible for the trash to train piece. Now, we've got all of this trash, plastic or whatever, we made a train. Now, the two groups that were primarily involved were which two groups?
The manufacturing, advanced manufacturing students under the direction of Mr. Bill Michael, and the child development students.
Child development and
Technology education, manufacturing students.
Manufacturers. Yeah. I also heard that you tapped some of our math students.
Yes.
How do you get math students involved with technology and
Well, I'm at
human?
Human Services and Consumer Science.
Oh, I knew that.
Our math students, Mr. Plumet's math students, actually used triple balance scales to weigh a 1 1/4 inch cube and determine how many 2-liter soda bottles were in that 1 1/4 inch cube, and then went on to multiply and use their mathematics skills to determine how much landfill space was saved by using the materials in this way. And they actually used this recycled curbside trash, that stuff that you put out in your garbage, Dr. Bond, to make this compressed lumber for this train.
I put it out in my recycling bin in my garbage.
Yes, Dr. Bond, that's true. But the best part of this is that we are then using the vocational teachers and the academic teachers and helping students to reach a very high potential. We're looking at what can this student do, what do they know, and what do we want them to be like when they enter their careers of the future.
I think that Mrs. Leister believes in integrated projects. Mrs. Kinsey.
Yes.
Mrs. Kinsey. Mrs. Kinsey is also one of our first draftees for...
I think I was a second round.
You were second round?
Well, I wasn't in the first year.
How did I miss you?
I was at the junior high.
Oh, that's the only way I could have missed you is you weren't here.
I know.
All right. So, but you heard I was drafting people
That's
who came
right.
up from the junior
That's
high
right.
to be with us.
I was first in line.
Ah, well, so we're glad you came, aren't we, Kevin?
Look a little glad, Kevin.
Mrs. Kinsey, we have interdisciplinary teams that are part of our initiative in 10th and 11th grade. Now, interdisciplinary teams, in terms of a notion, have been around for a long time. Help us understand what that means in practice.
I think it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences that I've personally had as a teacher, so I want to give it that plug. Having worked many years without being on a team and then coming here to the high school to be part of this program, it was really enlightening to me, and I started to see things from a different perspective, because as teachers we often want to just close our door and do our own curriculum, and I think of this School to Work initiative as about anything. It's about making connections between subject matters, between teachers, between the career, the world of work. In 10th grade, the structure primarily is English, biology, and world cultures, which I think some people would say is a sort of bizarre situation, wouldn't you, Kim? I mean, biology and English. And also, in 11th grade, we continue with the English and the world cultures. It's a two-teacher type of team. One of the things that I think make it most successful, maybe Kevin doesn't know this, but we have a mutual planning period where we have an opportunity to meet together and to talk about what we're going to do to make things relevant. And we have an opportunity to also talk about our students and to see if they're having any difficulties or how we can assist them. So it's a much more supportive nurturing, and hopefully relative environment in both grades.
Kevin, do you feel this nurturing, supportive package in the interdisc program?
I think, well, actually for me, it's a lot easier to learn what they're trying to teach at that time. Because basically everything, if we're learning something in English class, well, let me use an example. We did interviewing skills and resume skills in English class, and you would go over to your social studies class, and then something would tie in over there with what you're doing, and then over to biology class, which is something you would do over in biology, which ties in with the career that you might pursue in your future or something like that. And it all tied in together, so it made it much easier to learn, because I mean you would have 3 periods to basically learn. I mean, it wasn't all basically the same, but it was all tied in together, so you would learn better that way.
And Mrs. Kinsey, yes. Have you been working with him to make sure he said what you wanted him to say today?
Now, Dr. Bond, you know that I would never, ever do that. Kevin speaks from the heart.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, final comments. Integrated, interdisc, applied strategies. Kevin's it working for you?
Definitely working for me.
Working for you.
Definitely working for me.
At teachers, is it working for you?
Absolutely. Yes, it is.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting to be doing this. I've been teaching for the North Penn School District. I came when the building came, which I don't like to admit. But this is very, very exciting. And really what's best for students.
I agree. Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement, Kevin? With that, I'd like to say thank you for joining us today, and keep it going, gang. We're proud of you, and particularly proud of you, young man. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that's part 2. We've got another one for you coming up in just a minute. Please, if you have to go somewhere, do it in a hurry, because we'll be right back.
Tommy wants to design bridges when he grows up. Maybe he'll design one that you'll use. Now, would you like this free booklet of simple ways you can help improve his education? Call 1-800-96-PROMISE.
Welcome back to AAA, academics plus activities plus athletics at North Penn High School equals excellence. We've been talking about North Penn school districts and specifically North Penn High School School to Work Tech Prep Initiative today. And we're going to continue that conversation with another group of wonderful, wonderful people who've agreed to join us. To my immediate right is Amanda Linher. Amanda is a junior at North Penn High School and in our Tech Prep program. To her right, Mrs. Wright, her daughter Katie, and Mr. Wright. And we appreciate the fact that they've taken time from their busy schedule to be with us today to talk about School to Work Tech Prep, and specifically what it's meant to the Wright family and to Amanda as a student at North Penn High School. Amanda has been talking to me for 2 years about this program, and Amanda, you've been anxious to talk about it.
Yes, I have.
Why have you been so anxious to tell people about what this program has meant to you?
Well, I think it's a great program. Before, when I came here, I didn't like school that much. Teachers didn't care. And then I came into the Tech Prep program, and it was totally different story. My grades improved rapidly. I went from failing grades to almost honor roll. The program has so many different qualities.
Let me ask you a question, Amanda, because I'm curious. Now, you said that you went from failing to honor roll?
Almost honor roll.
Failing to almost, but overnight?
Gradually.
But how did that happen? What's the difference between your choosing to fail, which I believe students do, to almost honor roll? What happened?
I didn't like school before I came to the high school. I didn't like it. I didn't like being there. And then I came here, and my Tech Prep teachers from last year just totally changed my life. They made class fun and not just, here's the book, this is what you have to do for class, it's due tomorrow. They actually made it exciting and made you want to come to school. And I came to school more. My grades improved. I enjoy coming to school.
Amanda, you're in the band front, is that
Yes.
correct? What else are you involved with?
I'm in the visual percussion ensemble, and I'm a third-year member of the bowling team.
Now, would you be doing those things regardless of this program or not?
Yes, but
Would you be eligible?
no.
That's, Amanda, I've been watching you for 2 years. I've watched your sad, sad face turn to smiles. I've watched that ugly, ugly report card turn into something that you couldn't wait to show me. And this is about teachers. Is it about the curriculum? Are you learning?
Yes, I'm learning, and it's the teachers too. They make it fun, and you can understand it more.
Understand it more, and I remind us that we had been talking about applied strategies and integrated projects. Those are the kind of things that help you learn it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Were you involved in this Romeo and Juliet
Yes,
piece?
I was, very much.
Did you learn anything about Romeo and Juliet?
I learned a lot of things.
A lot of things.
A lot of things.
I'm going to ask you to think about some of those things that you learned as a part of this package, and we'll get back to you in just a few moments, okay? I want to go to the Wright family. Dr. Wright, I'd like to start with you. I know, because I've had conversations with the Wright family, that this program has been significant for you and for Katie. In what ways, Dr. Wright, has this program helped you and through Katie? What's it meant to you as a father?
Well, as a father, I'm glad to say that we've got our cheerful, happy, smiling child back. She was having difficulties prior to coming to high school. And we felt brokenhearted for her because we could see her frustration. She would try, but she seemed didn't have the confidence to perform. Then once she got into the Tech Prep program, the style of learning completely changed her. She is now confident and willing and wanting to do the work. Her results have paid off. She's beautiful and smiling again.
Mrs. Wright, how'd you hear about this Tech Prep program?
I knew that it was in existence through the counselors at the junior high, and knew that it was beginning here at the high school. And we received a letter late in the summer about the opportunity for Katie to become part of the program. And prior to the beginning of the school year, there was an informational meeting that you directed, and where we had a chance to meet some of the teachers who talked about the program. And it was a wonderful evening because it set the tone, and it gave us an opportunity to look forward to what the high school might have to offer Katie. And we left that evening feeling very excited for Katie, seeing that there was going to be a new opportunity for her and possibly a chance for her to be successful. And it gave us all something to hope for and to think very positively about for the next year, and it paid off.
Dr. and Mrs. Wright, I guess when you come to a meeting like that and things are so glowingly explained and there's so much hope, and you go home and what do you think? Is this real? Can this really be? What were your thoughts between the time that you heard our presentation to when you really began to experience that, wow, this isn't just rhetoric?
It didn't take very long, because I think Katie was with us that night, and I think she started out the year with high expectations too. It took a very short time before we saw the kind of response. So that initial is this really going to happen kind of feeling that we had about the program didn't last very long, because within a very short period of time, we saw a change in Katie and how she perceived school and how she perceived herself. And with continuing talking with the teachers and everything, they were doing exactly what had been proposed.
Katie,
Yes.
your father says that he has your back. Where were you?
I don't know.
You don't know where you were?
No,
Things were not going well?
not at all.
What's that mean, that things weren't going well?
My grades were awful. Everything in my life was awful for those 2 years I was in the junior high.
And when you say everything in your life, all of that centered around the fact that school was awful for you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you want it to do well?
No.
You didn't?
I don't think. Sometimes I tried, and I wouldn't succeed, so I said, why bother even trying anymore?
When you came to the high school, you're thrust into this interdisciplinary tech prep program. Were you smiling opening day?
The first class I walked into was Mrs. Wilson's class, and I left her room smiling, yes. I walked in with not knowing what the year was going to hold, but I walked out after that period was over knowing that it was going to be a good year.
How long ago was that, Janie?
A year ago.
A year ago. Yeah. And how are things now?
Excellent.
What's excellent mean?
Excellent.
Tell us what excellent means. You're back. Tell us what excellent means.
I'm getting good grades.
What's good grades?
A's and B's.
A's and B's. Up from what?
From F's and D's.
From F's and D's to A's and B's.
Yes.
And it's about this interdisciplinary team, making it relevant, teachers.
Yeah, it's the teachers care. From the day that I walked into that class, I knew that they cared and they were here to help us. The way they taught was not, here's the book, just like Amanda said, it's here's the book, do this assignment, hand it in, have a nice day. It was more hands-on, it was fun. You learned a lot, but in a fun way, in a way that you wanted to go to school saying, oh, we're going to do this great project today. And the teachers, it was the teachers that made all the difference.
If I were to, a summer ago, prior to your coming to North Penn High School, if I were to call this family up and say, Dr. Wright, I'd like to talk to you, Katie, and Mrs. Wright about school, Dr. Wright, what would that conversation have sounded like?
First of all, I would have thought you would have been talking about why is my daughter not performing academically well, and another one of those thoughts like, oh no, here we go again. But you know, in a way you did that. You sent out that letter, which was kind of like the calling card and waving the banner, like here's a program that we believe in. And I think that that was the call. That was the call.
Well, Dr. Wright, I am so glad I sent that letter out. I am so glad I sent that letter out. What else, is there anything that you would like to say about this? We have an audience out there that's trying to understand school to work and tech prep and some of these new initiatives that we're about. As parents, is there anything you'd like to say to them?
I think it's just given Katie a real focus for her life. She's personable and outgoing and a lot of fun, and she was involved with the TRAIN program and with the child development program. And she got a job working at a daycare center, and it led from a part-time job to a full-time job during the summer. And it's brought her to the knowledge that she wants to be a teacher. She wants to work with little kids. And a couple of years ago, when she wasn't at all interested in going to any kind of schooling after high school, all she wanted to do was to get through high school, and then I'm out of here, she says. But now we're looking at colleges. We're looking at elementary education programs. She wants to have her own daycare center someday. And so happens that that's an area that's going to be growing. And we feel fortunate that she likes it, she's happy in it, and she's at a very early age, earlier than most people, find something that interests them and that they want to pursue. And she'll do it, and she'll be successful, and because that's what she likes.
Yeah, it's interesting because Amanda and Katie have a similar story. Mm-hmm. And if Amanda's parents were here, they'd probably say some of the same things. Would that be accurate? They say the same things.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to. We have two young ladies here who have everything in the world going for them, and had everything in the world going for them 3 years ago. Maybe they just didn't know about it, or maybe we just didn't do some of the things that we could have done. But we're pleased that that's happening for them now. Amanda, what are you going to do when you get out of school?
I'm going to school in England.
You're going to school in England?
For cosmetology.
You're going to England to go to school for cosmetology?
To work for Vidal Sassoon.
To work for Vidal Sassoon?
Yes.
Excuse me, Miss Sassoon.
And then after I finish my 2 years over there, I'll be coming back to the States to go to college for business.
Now, whoa, I'm sorry, I get goosebumps talking to these two young people because you're going to, now you know this.
Yes.
What could keep you from doing this?
Family, if my family didn't want me to go.
But other than that, what could keep you from going?
Well, my grades, but the school wouldn't be looking at my grades from here. They'd be looking at my performance at the tech school. And it's pretty much the same basic idea over there as it is here, that the teachers are different.
So you're going to do this?
Yes.
You're going to send us a postcard from England?
Yes.
That's right. Good for you. Now, we've got Vidal Sassoon, how do you pronounce that?
Vidal Sassoon.
I knew that. And we've got Katie coming over here, owning her own child care center. This is exciting. This is so exciting. Katie, how do you feel?
Happy.
Happy.
Excited.
Excited.
Yes.
Dr. Wright, how do you feel?
I'm just really pleased. I think the school has done a wonderful job, from the teachers, administrators. It just came at the perfect time for us. It was a real blessing.
Mrs. Wright?
I'm very excited for Katie. It's nice to have a child who's interested in things and happy about what she's doing and looking forward to a productive future. And I'm just happy for her, and that I know that she's going to be successful and a competent adult.
We have presented for you today what we think is our most significant effort in terms of reform that's happened not only in the North Penn School District and North Penn High School, but in this country in a long time. What we're talking about is not a fad, is not a happening. There's a saying that I believe in. It says that efficient people do things right, but effective people do the right thing. And sometimes when you're being efficient, you do things that are expedient and you do it in a hurry. We've tried to be efficient and effective in this School to Work initiative, and we've moved slowly. Sometimes we get frustrated. Sometimes we're not sure why we're doing this because of all the work that's involved. When I say we, I'm talking about a lot of people, from the Educational Service Center down through the high schools and the middle schools. We're coming on board with this program, and I'm telling you, if in fact one didn't believe in this effort, how can you not believe in it? And we have student after student and parent after parent who would say the same thing. And I am just so proud of what these young people and Kevin and others like them have accomplished, and I feel so grateful to have the kind of staff working with me that we can do the right thing. We'll keep you posted as to how we're going, and if you're in business and industry and you want to come on board with us, please do so, because we are not just asking business and industry to come to a meeting. We're asking business and industry to come and get involved and help us as educators understand more about what it is our young people need to do when they go to work for you. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a pleasant day.